Welcome back to the EU LCS regional qualifiers. How fitting, the sun is setting over Berlin as it is also for one of the teams left in the regional qualifier. And it could very well be Schalke because G2 are up 2-1 and they're on match point versus Schalke 04. Now the four-time EU LCS champions, they've had a difficult year, but if they were to make it to Worlds, it would salvage what has otherwise been a pretty disappointing season. Now, I do want to take this opportunity to go back and tell the history of G2 Esports and why it is so monumental that they are fighting their way back today. This is an organization that came into the European LCS in 2016 and dominated Europe. Sheepy, you played versus them many times. They were an unstoppable force.
Yeah, and there was a time where G2 was just attributed with the fact to be the kings of Europe. Justifiably so. Whenever we played against them, it felt like they're absolutely unbeatable. That was still the time with Sven and Mithy. They were going over to America. It was down again to Perkz, but before this time, this team was absolutely strong.
And just every iteration of this lineup has been incredible. Honestly, you look back, the Emperor Hybrid bottom lane, even then they were dominating. Sven and Mithy come, they continue to get stronger and stronger. The evolution for them to win those 4 splits back-to-back, to qualify for Worlds and MSI so consistently.
And even with the double Koreans, Trick and Expect played such a strong top and jungle. Like, this team was so dominant. I can only just say we played against it and it was very frustrating.
And it was only a matter of time before that would also translate to the international stage. Famously, we know it took a while for G2 Esports, but at MSI 2017, they made it all the way to the final. They challenged SKT, and I think they were quite happy with that. At Worlds, I don't think they ever got as far as they would have hoped, and I think that is also why they are so determined, and especially Perkz is, to make it back to the biggest stage, because he wants to be like that, you know. He wants to pick Fizz again and go off on the international stage. But of course, as good as the story was in 2016 and 2017, we had a full reset in 2018. Some of the guys there on stage, of course, Trick, Expect, Sven, Mithy, all gone. Perkz last man standing, and he had a whole new roster. Up and down the whole year, and of course the fans and analysts alike were wondering, you're kidding me, what is this lineup really gonna do? But they made it to final in spring.
They did, and you were excited because you saw Jankos and Perkz together. You saw Wunder in the top lane, and yes, maybe you had questions about the bottom side of the map, but that top side alone gave a lot of faith in the roster. You thought maybe they can keep that spark alive, but it didn't work out against Fnatic, and I feel like after that moment, people started to ask a lot more questions about this G2 lineup, a lot more questions about the bottom lane. Luckily for them, though, start of summer was pretty good.
I agree. They went 6-0 in the beginning of the split, and this is how I feel they've arrived now in the final rounds of the regional qualifier. They, of course, got knocked out by Misfits in the quarterfinal of the playoffs. Nobody knew how G2 was going to show up, and they've been great. And I want to go back to Perkz, the guy we had our eyes on, if he could step up, Sheepy. Over these last 2 days, he has left a wonderful impression for me.
Yeah, and I think overall in the split, he has shown a lot of leadership. I think also in those games, whenever you're a veteran and when you're somebody who brought the team together, those are the people that in those series you're looking back to and you're saying, what is the idea? How do we handle this?
Difference makers.
Exactly. Those are the difference makers. And we talked about it in the beginning. Who are the people that are going to step up for their team? And I think this guy, outside of what he's bringing on the Rift, I think brings a lot behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, as well. And then Jankos, the guy by his side. Mid-jungle synergy has been such a huge thing. All split Drakos. Not a coin flick today. It is heads or tails, however you want to see it.
Absolutely. This has been a beautiful couple of days for Jankos. He's been turned around. He's been everywhere he's needed to be in these early games. He's been so active, and finally we're seeing him return to that form that we always knew he had in him. This is peak Jankos playing on stage today, and I'll be honest, the jungle mid synergy for me became a meme in the second half of the split when this was all over the place, but here it is back. It is alive now, and this is that dream form of G2 that you want to see if you're a G2.
It would be crazy if they do it, if they make it to Worlds after everything that's happened, I think, and it would be a return to form for them. With all the good on G2, I do also want to talk about Schalke. Not out of this one yet by any means. They've shown some very good things over this series, but it just hasn't been enough in the last game. What are we looking at? What are the keys to victory for Schalke to bring it back?
I feel like Schalke have a lot of confidence in what they're doing, but I think that they're undervaluing Amazing right now. For me, you have to put more priority on getting this guy a jungle matchup where he can have a definitive advantage over Jankos, because Jankos is going in, he's stealing jungle, he's impacting the map in a way that Amazing cannot keep up with, and you can see the way Amazing is playing right now. He is going all in to try to win this for his team. He's putting that pressure on himself. Just give him a champion where he can actually make that impact. Trundle is not enough. Get him the Skarner this time around. Be willing to make that sacrifice so Amazing can succeed.
Yeah, and I totally agree with this, because right now the biggest biggest difference between those two teams is the jungle matchup. And what it also contributes is that you're trying to salvage that over mid lane. I think that's a wrong idea. You shouldn't have picked LeBlanc and then give Corki and then give him the better outscaling. I think it's better, because he's not doing so much with it, to give the better jungle matchup, play mid lane like a control champion, pick an Urgot or something like this. Obviously, it's not available anymore, but something around this area, and then play those team fights that you're so incredibly good at.
And I see there that you guys also put don't get outscaled in the mid lane. You need to have an answer before when the game goes a bit later in your team fighting.
Yes, and I think Nukeduck is struggling to find really good DPS in those team fights. We saw him jumping in on Corki, but he's just having Hexdrinker, dodging everything. Morgana has the spell sheet, and it doesn't really feel comfortable from Nukeduck. We also saw the stat line for LeBlanc. He has not been having the most success on this champion, but if we compare it to his performance on, for example, the Lissandra, the Urgot, he was so dominant in those games, and I think he should return to that.
All right, so all eyes on the jungle.
I think the jungle is where you're going to see this matchup shift. I think if Schalke do not set up amazing for success, things are very likely to fall apart. I think that paired with put Nukeduck on a champion where he can either neutralize perks or outscale perks. So it is something like a Lissandra or something that's going to scale better. Don't give him this LeBlanc versus Corki. I agree with Sheepy completely. It's very hard for Schalke right now. They need to win this one out in the draft.
Wow, well, there we go. Perkz and G2 on match point. 1 game away from the World Championship once again for G2. Or is Schalke going to come back? I hope so. I want Silver Scrapes. Let's see it.
I completely agree. I'm not ready for the sun to set on one of these Team Sharks. I thought that was a beautiful analogy. And we need to see if we can get another beautiful game of League of Legends. Games 1 and 3, G2 Esports clearly in control, clearly taking the lead and not giving Schalke a shot. Vedis, you were very critical of the Schalke win in Game 2. Let's turn our attention to now what could be their last game of the season. G2 had side selection. They picked blue. What are you expecting G2 to do against Schalke?
Well, it feels to me like they want to put Schalke in a position where they're the ones banning the Urgot, so that G2 don't have to spend the ban. And because they now have first pick, you would imagine Schalke would not let it through unless they say G2 can have Urgot and we'll take the Skarner.
I mean, there can definitely be a lot of trading. I'm looking at mid lane. I think Perkz been able to last pick has been great for him to know exactly what kind of matchup he needs to make sure he has more impact than Nukeduck. Not necessarily the case now when it's Schalke over on red side, so I want to see how it impacts the mid lane matchup.
And of course, taking a look at the Schalke squad, you can see Coach Andre on stage, their sports psychologist as well, sitting inside the huddle, just giving the Schalke squad a little pep talk. Again, they're backs are against the walls. If Schalke lose this game, 2018 is over. This is a squad that failed to make playoffs in spring, that made the run to finals after substituting Amazing onto the roster. And I can see the G2 squad looking over at them. Some, you know, smiles on the sides of G2, but it's interesting.
Remember that Schalke, if Misfits had won that best of 5 against Vitality, Schalke would have gone to Worlds. They were so close to securing that spot, and it fell away from them. And now they are 1 game down behind G2 Esports. They need to win 2 more games.
Yep.
And they were expected to be the heavy favorites in this series.
Yes, because they're the final boss in the gauntlet. They can watch 5 games of G2 yesterday. They knew about the Heimerdinger. They're now banning it away. And even without that, we actually have G2 now beating them. Last game was even with a tank top lane for Wonder because they had the bot lane they played around, something we have not seen G2 do very often.
And I love the fact that to start this day, Wonder put that chat into the pregame lobby and said, hey, Schalke, what food shall I eat in Korea? I'm waiting to see if there's any more bans being thrown out, but let's turn our attention to the champions. Deficio, I know we talked a little bit about the Urgot priority and who's going to call their bluff. Is there any possibility that Schalke leave Heimer open and say they have an answer on red side?
Yes, there is definitely a possibility. It's not like Heimerdinger is overpowered or anything. You can play against it. And if G2 can already do well bot lane without it, you might as well just leave it open.
Interestingly, it's G2 that ban away the Urgot. This to me implies that they actually have heavy emphasis on securing themselves the Skarner pick. If they don't, then they lock in Olaf. They're guaranteed one of these 2 jungle picks for Jankos.
This tells me Olaf.
He's going to be a happy man.
With the Trundle ban here, I'm thinking Olaf more than Skarner, but
I think if you're Schalke, you leave both open and then you trade the Skarner for Olaf.
But here's the problem. Do you want Olaf for Amazing? I'm not too sold on his Olaf.
That's true.
So if you take Skarner on G2, you're kind of saying, okay, Amazing, do you want to pick Olaf? Can you carry the early game? There's a lot of questions regarding this last ban. It's going to be Tahm Kench.
They're going to leave them both open, which means you would expect G2 to go for Skarner unless they feel Olaf is the stronger pick.
I think Olaf was insane yesterday from Jankos. And with the Trundle ban, it screamed Olaf to me. But this is also Skarner now for Schalke. And the Tahm Kench is gone, so Alistar is suddenly available again.
We could consider the Morgana still a decent pick into the matchup, but of course there's always the risk of, you know, the Headbutt Pulverize can hit onto multiple members rather than just a single target. So
Zyra Rakan also open here, but not hovered at the moment by Schalke. It is going to be the Alistar pick, so they step away from Zyra Rakan after seeing Boros Morgana against it last match. Jankos, as you can see here, against Splice, had some pretty good stats.
So I was wondering if Schalke looked to prioritize the Varus here as well, because then they could just do the Varus plus the Alistar, but a combo we often saw during the regular season was Ezreal Alistar, because Vander would look to roam around the map. But Kai'Sa is another big pick for upset that historically this split, G2 have not played, and now it has been left available for Schalke.
It is the pick that actually got them into the finals when they managed to put Upset on scaling instead of putting on something where he could do more in the mid game, and it ended up being huge for the team in late game team fights. G2 do not care about your late game team fights. They have Zyra Rakan plus Olaf. It's a lot of action coming from them.
Defisha, this is very exciting. Amazing gets his hands on the Skarner. Jankos on the Olaf from yesterday. And I've heard you talk about Hjarnan and Wadid being original Zyra Rakan players, but not seeing enough of it on the G2 roster. Do you think this roster with these players can make this comp work?
I think with the way they've been playing the last 2 days, yes, they can. They've actually shown us when they have strong early game and they get an early lead, they are super clean when it comes to snowballing that advantage. Now the question is, for Schalke, I think you grab your top laner blind and you wait with your mid lane pick.
Do you maybe go Maokai blind here?
You can, yeah, you can. I mean, you obviously gotta somewhat respect that Wunder has a bunch of carries left.
Shogath is probably the safer blind pick then, if you want something that is generally always safe to play. Alternatively, they could go for the Rise here, but yeah, we talked about tank top. There's the Cho'Gath. They already have the engage with the Alistar, and now there's more than enough follow-up CC with the Cho.
So could we see like a Jace top lane here with Olaf as a combination? That can hard snowball. GP?
Oh, you can hear Draco's backstage going, no! He made the segment yesterday, don't pick GP. The last time we saw him play this matchup, he died twice against Alphari.
That was definitely a problem. It's true, that matchup didn't go as planned for him, but back then, his bot lane couldn't actually do anything early. Now I think they're putting more trust in them. GP ulti to set up more for Zyra Rakan, but
you're right.
It's so much focus around Jan and Medivh. Oh, what do we get mid here for Nukeduck?
They're going full scaling on the side of Schalke.
Is that 21 as well? I think that might be number 21 in terms of unique champions picked. Curveballs thrown out the last minutes. Vedius, tell me what you're seeing here.
So, from the side of G2, fun fact, early game, they actually have the bot lane that they primarily want to play around. You don't really want to play into the Gangplank lane. Cassio is just farming, so it's all about trying to get an advantage in the bot side of the map. And with Cassio, I feel like once you've got the tier, you can actually get a decent amount of pressure up against the Azir until he gets that Nash's Tooth, meaning that Perkz could even make his way down bot as well to shut down this Kai'Sa, which Schalke, if they get to the late game, yes, this team is terrifying. But what we've seen is that G2 will not let you get there.
It's true, and I remember Nukeduck in an interview with the shot caller said, Azir right now is not strong in the early game at all, and while his late game is good, the payoff is not enough for how weak he is early.
But when was that?
It's a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month or so, and of course Azir right now for Nukeduck, he's feeling confident in the pick itself, but I think this Olaf, early game he might actually go top because you can kill Cho'Gath, but later at level 6, bot lane is where you focus.
He's even running Ignite. He doesn't have the cleanse, he doesn't have teleport, he is going for, I think we have potential kill pressure here. With the Skarner Azir, yes, on a Cassio, there is possible setup, but my word, this is the contrast of styles. Early game playmaking, G2 finding advantages not conventionally through their bot lane, but that's what they're looking to do. Whereas Schalke, late game team fighting.
This could be the last game of the summer split here in the European LCS, and we have Gangplank Cassio on the side of G2 Esports and Azir mid for Nukeduck, his 21st unique champion in around 30-31 games
where's the graphic
summer. Not doing it. Too serious of a game. I veto it, young Day. Right now, Jankos is going to be where my eyes will be at in this early game. Can he get G2 off to another good lead. Plays that were initiated by Jankos in games 1 and 3 are a big reason as to why G2 are on match point, series point, and this tantalizing close to the World Championships.
Exactly, and again, I think early game, if you want to gank, I think that Cho'Gath is the easy option. Obviously, if Amazing is there, it can get a little bit scary. Otherwise, farming for 6 as an Olaf is not a bad thing to do. Obviously, it makes it a bit easier to also just ignore the Azir ulti and potentially try and run down Nukeduck. But I want to see now Wunder on this GP as well. So many opinions around the pick, and I feel like it's been so weak again because they couldn't use the ulti to properly set up the bottom lane in the past, but this series has kind of changed my mind a little bit, and
You're believing in Hjarnan Wadid.
I'm believing more in Hjarnan Wadid now than before, that's for sure.
Like, I remember in the good old Roccat days when this was the bot lane we only talked about.
That's the OG Zyra Khan days.
You said, this is the duo that the team has to carry through. And when... I still remember the days of Sivir for Hjarnan when he got to those late game and he had those great team fights. And he's had moments of brilliance, but then sometimes he's also had moments where he wasn't able to do anything and he wasn't able to shine. But when G2 need them the most, that is when they're able to pull it off.
Production have informed me my veto was ignored, not important, and they wanted to run 21 unique champions. The Ocean continues, but it will only be relevant, it will only be good. The year of Nukeduck continues. It gets to game 5. Playing 21 champions doesn't mean a thing if you can't show them off on the biggest stage against the best mid laners from the rest of the world.
Yep, I completely agree.
He's doing that in Europe already.
And Nukeduck hasn't been to Worlds since 2013. He was one of the first to face the wrath of Faker. And he hasn't been able to make it to any international competition since then. And now he is so very close. But G2, 2-1 up in this series, going up against Perkz, one of the best mid laners in Europe. And he has his hands on the Cassio again. So, Deficio, I have my eyes again on these junglers. Jankos already pathing towards bot, getting a bit of early vision. But they want to look for an invade, utilizing the pressure that they have with the Zyra Khan.
Well, Amazing saw them on the ward placed in the river. So he knows what's going on. Well, he's still trying to sneak in. Obviously, Vander moving up as well.
And of course, this time around, G2 being on blue side, it's not a red buff that they're contesting. Amazing goes forward. I think he manages to, the headbutt comes out. That's not good enough from Vander. 3-man pulverize is decent. That forces the flash from Wadid. Jankos follows up, trying to tenderize Vander. Summon a heal, he keeps him alive. Continuing to run for his life. But look at that, the fracture comes down. Now Amazing forced to flash over the wall, and Jankos gets first blood.
But Vander, what are you doing? He ends up just headbutting in and nothing else. Finds himself completely caught out. He loses flash, gives up first blood to the Olaf. We said G2 would love to get the bot lane ahead, but did not expect it to happen at level 3.
Wunder looking good in this 1v1 matchup as well, but G2 find themselves a good early game lead. 1-0-0 on Jankos. Amazing, already being put behind. The pressure mounting ever more so for this Schalke squad as their hopes of making it to Worlds are slowly fading away.
All right, so Schalke make the call. Hey, we can contest the blue buff, let's take the fight. End up going in, Smite comes down, Jankos then walks out, and Vander just headbutts him further away, nothing else.
It was good damage onto Wadid, but the problem is he then hard commits to the fight. He's forced to use his flash very early, and then Hjarnan and Jankos can get the chase down. They even get the flash out from Amazing, so that's a lot of summoner spells burned towards the bot side of the map. More so for the side of G2, and this does give a potential opportunity for Amazing to look for a gank, but Wadid has his eyes on mid.
Well, let's find out what Wadid can do. Jump into chat and tell us who's going to Worlds. Hashtag G2 or S04. Will we go to game 5? That's what we're going to be finding out. Wadid unable to find any sort of engagement to Nukeduck, who is even in CS. And a pause has come down. We'll get back to you with details as soon as I have them.
But this is great for G2. The fact that they found this early game lead, they've been able to do it through the bot lane. You can already see double longsword coming through for Hjarnan. Things are looking very positive, and we know that when G2 have an early lead, they're very smart about how they use it. They haven't been over-eager. There haven't been individuals making those mistakes that we did see occasionally from Splyce, and you kind of put Schalke in a bit of a scary position.
I will say this time around, though, for Schalke, the fact that you have your Cho'Gath winning on top side as expected against the GP, you actually do have ways to play without having to go back bot lane, which was kind of an issue last game when they lost bot. They couldn't really do anything. Now you can go top, try and shut down Wonder completely, get Cho'Gath further ahead, and use him as kind of your gap that gets you out of laning phase.
One of the things I also like about the Schalke draft this time round, with Azir and Kai'Sa, the ability to make big plays is in the hands of the right people, in my opinion.
In the late game, yes.
In the late game. And assuming that I'm full 10k gold down, then Azir and Kai'Sa, I like as you go 20, 25, 30 minutes into game, which is what we have done several times in a row. While we continue to investigate this pause, I do have an update in terms of the fan vote. Over 71% of the fans in chat are in favor of G2 Esports winning this game and series.
See, that's easy to say now. Before the last game, I actually asked on Twitter, and I had like 70% on Schalke right there. But then Schalke lost the game, and people, of course, swap instantly.
People online are good flip-floppers. They don't like to commit to their initiative.
Of course, yes, because you never put their name on the broadcast. It just says Twitter, right? So it's very easy to predict correctly. And as Deficio knows, you can just delete tweets that you don't want the world to see.
I know, they'll still see the tweets.
Gentlemen, I do want to talk a little bit about that blue buff invade again, if we can bring it up, because in the previous games, Jankos was invading amazing early. That trend has continued.
So I think it's important to note that Hyun and Wadid had push in bots, which means they're able to move towards the blue buff first. Now, they think that they can go for this trade. If Vander lands that combo, maybe. But even then, Kai'Sa in the early game doesn't have the highest amount of damage, especially given that you think about Xayah Rakan, the W passive, as well as the fact that you have constant axes coming out from Olaf. This is one of the best early game skirmishing champions that you could have available to you. So the fact that Schalke tried to go for that fight really does surprise me. I feel like they should have just conceded the blue buff and just accepted the fact that they lost it.
Yeah, I think no matter what, they would have lost the fight, because Perkz was also just around the corner. So had they ever continued to fight, he would have been there early on. But the call was clearly try and do something here. We can't actually afford to fall further behind, but I'm pretty sure Amazing got the blue buff.
Yeah.
Yes.
They actually got everything they needed.
Oh, wait, no. Amazing didn't get the blue buff. It was secured by Jankos, as far as I'm aware.
I believe
Because he did smite auto, and then that's what I...
Okay. Believe I saw the blue buff under the scanner.
It's all right. It happens. No worries, mate.
Still, they wanted to fight.
All right, I do have an update regarding the pause. A minion has become stuck in a tower. Yes, that is correct. A minion is definitely in a place he should not be. I'm not quite sure why we're clapping for a stuck minion, but okay. But obviously, this is a very unique situation to be in. League officials as well as referees are busy discussing backstage.
Can someone just run down and kill it? Or?
What the course of action will be to proceed.
Do we know where the minion is stuck?
Sadly, I can't see it right now, but that is a pretty fun pause in a lot of ways. But I'm not sure how you resolve it, because no one can actually get close to a turret and kill the poor guy.
All right, so I do have an update from league officials and our referees. The call is that we will be playing through. The minion will remain stuck until the next wave comes up to pull it out. You can see Upset currently discussing via comms with the team as we continue to triage the situation. It's difficult, it's challenging, and it disrupts flow when you're in such an important game. So I can understand some of the frustration that Upset is currently feeling.
Yeah, no, I mean, potentially, if it had been like the first wave of the game, experience could have mattered a lot. But in this case here, hopefully it doesn't end up having an impact. At some point, they might just get to actually kill that minion. But we will have to see what actually happens once we go back into the game.
And of course, a bug has occurred after action has already happened with First Blood. So if no game of record event could have occurred, it would be a different set of circumstances. The man on your screen there, Perkz, very happy right now. A game ahead, close to being another World Championship, albeit in the 3rd seed this time round.
Which actually might not be a bad thing.
I
because
agree.
G2 have gone as the 1st seed twice with everyone putting pressure on them, and then they haven't made it out of group. Now, I think groups, the last one, I'm not actually crying here. I was
it was a tough group, I remember.
It was a tough group. I was actually sad back then. But the last group they ended up playing in, they had Samsung in it, and they had RNG in it. Like, it was the hardest group possible. And they got pretty close to knocking out Samsung out of groups, which is pretty insane. But that ended up not happening, so they didn't make it out. But as a 3rd seed, there's less pressure on G2.
Yeah, less pressure, less expectation. Obviously, the extra games that helped Fnatic last year. And something that Finish and I were talking about just before we came into this game, the fact that G2 are wearing their European Union branded shirts. Yesterday, obviously wearing the Madrid shirts, despite the fact they didn't make it to Madrid. And now, you know, thinking ahead. There's been some banter. There's been some cockiness. But I like it. I appreciate it. I think you have to have that mentality of we're going to win, we're going to Worlds, and then wearing their uniform proudly that they want to wear to represent the European Union.
But you only have to look at their tweets from yesterday to know how confident this team was, saying that they were going to demolish Splyce, that there was going to be a clean 3-0.
What I liked is that Perkz acknowledged at the end of the day, hey, maybe it was a little over, but the main thing is they did win. They did show up when it counted, and they won that game 5.
Yes, they did. And it was a hard-fought victory, but it was well-deserved as well. And coming into today, they've looked primed, ready, and confident. And what I thought was fascinating was when we spoke on PGL yesterday to Deficio, it was very much about, on paper, everything looks amazing for Schalke. And a part of us thought that their greatest enemy could be themselves. Do they get into their own heads? Because then they put this pressure upon themselves, you know? We're only one best of 5 away from actually qualifying for Worlds.
And you're the favorite.
And you're the favorite. And there's the fact that so many of these players haven't been to Worlds for so long. And it's just, you have to wonder how much that pressure weighs on you, especially now that you're sitting in a pause and that pressure just continues to mount.
Yeah, I mean, the pressure is definitely something. I think just mainly it's G2 playing a lot better. Like, the last 2 days, they've just looked like a different team compared to most of this split. And I think it's a lot of credit to G2 and some of the big names on the team who's actually now able to step up when it really matters. And we see this from other teams around the world as well. When you get into these pressure situations, like a Gauntlet, the big names, the veteran players can perform better than they normally do. And I think we've seen this, especially when a team gets ahead. Like, I'm very impressed with how cleanly they actually get the big advantages.
Yeah, the textbook plays, as it were. I'm going to have to ask you to, write that book one day. You can add another chapter on the seven.
It'll be a very short book right now with 2 chapters.
I know, but there's a lot more to add, Deficio.
There would be a chapter dedicated to Deficio's Zyra, which would just entail his glorious solo queue adventures.
It's true.
Oh, that would not be a good chapter to read. But looking at the faces on Schalke, it's a very serious situation, of course. Amazing, looking to get back to World Championships, same with Nukeduck, and you can feel the tension in the room. Amazing's playing that Skarner. He's been pushed around a fair amount this series, and after having what was a pretty impressive early game against Fnatic, again showing some development, showing he can play and step up in an area that he's not been the strongest in for the majority of the split. I had high expectations for him this series. And I don't think I've quite yet seen a performance that I'm very happy with.
I mean, there's definitely been some questions regarding some of the plays, but I feel a lot of it is just the lanes from Schalke have not been able to actually do anything with Amazing. They're not been able to combine anything so far. The Zac game, the Trundle game we got here last time around. We are heading back into the game, though.
And of course, just a reminder, there was a minion that was stuck underneath the tower. League officials and referees' call was to continue playing.
It is down in the bottom lane. You can see the little health bar under the turret HP. So that is the one stuck, which means one less minion available for Schalke's bottom lane.
Yes.
And I just want to see if that has any impact or not.
Correct. So that minion was stuck in the tower. We'll keep an eye on that in a moment. For now, though, Upset is going to just clear out that back caster minion.
Yeah, because obviously it's a small amount of experience he's not getting, small amount of gold he's not going to get either. And that is obviously why they paused, because it is super annoying for Schalke's bottom lane.
It can be. If one minion is the difference between a level power-up and an engage. Now, admittedly, they were both level 3 already coming into this matchup. The call has been made, so let's play with the cards that we have been dealt. Upset and Vander, Kai'Sa and Alistar. Currently a little bit behind in CS, but there's a big wave and a half pushing towards them. And Upset is already back to pick up that pickaxe, Vedius.
Yes. Looking across some of the other items that have been completed as well, Perkz having the tier. We talked a little bit about it in the draft, that having the extra mana does give you decent push in the laning phase, and it gives you a couple more trading options. And until Nukeduck actually upgrades towards the Nash's Tooth, he won't really have that same level of wave clear or pressure. Right now, he has a range advantage, but that's also a pretty long cooldown in the early game. But Perkz just recognizing that he doesn't want to overcommit or overextend when there are more minions pushing towards him.
But now with Nukeduck hitting level 6, like, we could actually see some focus around the mid lane. Cassiopeia is obviously not able to really dodge around without flash. Oh, trade.
Remember, Azir in the early game, not a strong champion. Nukeduck already pushed back by that petrifying gaze.
Oh,
here comes Amazing. Don't pick GP or pick GP. Let's find out. Flashes away, and the Feral Scream wasn't enough. So he manages to escape with his life.
So, good play there from Wunder to get away, but also amazing. Just trying to play towards the top side, put Wunder behind. Does mean that the Gangplank ultimate won't be available for G2, as they right now set up for a potential dive around this bot lane tower.
Teleport being channeled now by Schalke just to try to defend this one. Vizicsacsi cancels it and remains in lane. He's got a 14 CS advantage and now a Summoner spell advantage with the fact that he has Flash while Wunder does not.
Yeah, can they follow up top? Amazing is not 6 yet. He really wants to hit it ideally before the next big gank. Wunder is still under a bit of pressure. Chachi's ulti is on cooldown right now, but once it's ready, he might try and go for an all-in. Jankos though playing around the strong bottom lane with the Xayah Rakan, and they will secure a very early Infernal Drake.
So G2, utilizing the early pressure that they do have, enables them to continue to build up small leads in the early game. 1,000 gold, just about, in their favor, and this is the kind of situation that they want to be in. Once those first couple of items come through, that's where I expect to see Jankos try and force a little bit more aggressively in terms of trying to pick up a couple more kills.
And that's kind of thing, like bot lane and jungle is going well for G2, but I think the fact that Nukeduck now, again, is really trying to take over more control of the mid is really big for Schalke, because that was an issue earlier in the series. Nukeduck has not really been able to have an early game impact other than the Urgot game. Yeah. And that was really missing last game here with the LeBlanc, but he got last pick in the draft. He picks the Nukeduck, the Azir for himself. And if he's actually able to make a play against Perkz, because you can shove, you can move in, you can knock him back with the ulti, and Perkz will have to flash it if he thinks the enemy jungler is nearby, and that is really an opening for Schalke to use.
Yep. And one thing we didn't talk about was the fact that Wunder is running Grasp of the Undying rather than the Kleptomancy. We saw that the last 2 times that he played, and it's the expectation that because you fall behind, you can have a little bit better in terms of gold. But we also see a group up of G2 towards the top side of the map, and even Wadid has joined the fight.
Jankos, Wadid, Perkz is moving already. Teleport and Flash now on cooldown for Vizicsacsi, but at what cost? Hjarnan's the target, he's got access to the ulti, has already used it. Now Impale, used as well. Vander forced to flash away. Upset's able to secure the first kill for Schalke.
And if you're moving your support top lane, your AD carry better move away from that bot lane turret, otherwise he's going to die. Hjarnan gives up a kill here, saves both summoners. Wave is now going to get pushed in by Schalke, while Chachi is going to kill everything top. Perkz is on the way, but it's a recall from Wunder.
And this is a really big punish for Schalke, because now Upset has reached level 6. He will be able to pick up that minion. And Amazing is still hanging around. Jankos, the best he can do is secure that fight. And I'm just surprised that they would move Wadid all the way up towards the top side to try and get Wunder back into the game. This is not about playing through the top lane. Wunder can be relevant as long as he's still farming on the Gangplank and has that ulti too. You should be looking to play through bot, shut down the Kai'Sa, punish the fact that she has a weak early laning phase.
Well, let's see here. The goal, again, seems to be just disrupt Amazing. Nukeduck's able to pick up his blue buff, trying to hold on to it, trying to get the mana, flashes over the wall. He was looking for the sliding glide, but didn't quite have the mana available to him. Summoner spell blown. And Jankos gonna throw out the Tomahawk stick.
Oh, but it's actually pretty big right now, delaying the recall, because look at the bottom lane, G2. Already near the turret will get a bunch of free damage on it. Amazing has to move down to try and stop it, and Upset didn't even get to go back to base now. He's down here to try and defend.
Yeah, made his way back down as well, sitting on 900 gold. Impale's not available for Amazing, but look at the minimap. First mid laner to move was Perkz. Fracture goes out, and Jankos uses the Ragnarok. Nukeduck did not respond. Perkz has now gone back to the mid lane. Tower continues to be focused and hammered down. Vander just pushing Hjarnan away. And while that was going on, Wunder was making his way to mid.
Yeah, he's hoping Nukeduck takes a fight without Flash in the mid lane, but this bot lane turret is very low. Last game, when G2 took an early bot lane turret, they instantly secured every objective on bottom side, swapped top lane, took the Rift held, and they got so far ahead that Schalke simply could not get back into the game. Jankos playing around this bot lane has been very effective so far.
You guys at home can spam in the chat G2 or Schalke to vote for who you think would win. Earlier on, G2 were the victors with about 70% of the vote, but that can obviously shift as Schalke have closed the goal gap. They found themselves a kill onto Hjarnan. They do still have scaling on their side. And remember, the thing about scaling is it puts the focus on a team to be proactive in the early game. And while G2 are looking good right now, they can't afford to slow down the early lead that they've built up.
Well, big swing there in the vote. I think that was just before Tower First Blood gave G2 Esports a 1,500 gold lead. Upset finally able to recall, spend a little bit of money. He's got a recurve bow to back up that pickaxe and is now looking to defend as Vizicsacsi, by the way, is only 12 CS ahead of Wunder right now. that gank and that pressure from earlier has evened out that matchup.
Exactly, and it's mainly in the early game where Chachi is going to be a big bully in the lane. Otherwise, it's going to be fine for the GP. And now you get this play here where G2 can go towards mid and top side, get the Rift held as well, and Schalke are pushed really far down, and they need a lot of time with their scaling to do a whole lot. No Rage Blade yet for Upset against Stormraze already completed on Xayah. Schalke, though, they're moving near the objective. They want to try and fight for it.
All right, this looks like a fight on the cards. Impale's available. Nukeduck's got that Emperor's Divide as well. Moves in for the smite, but look at the quickness. That two-man charm and a knock-up onto Amazing. He's already down as Yanin gets the kill credits.
There was no Kai'Sa available in that fight. Schalke were trying to fight it 3 versus 4, and Wood did, combined with Perkz, lock down Amazing, who isn't quite able to get the Smite steal, resulting in a kill and a Rift Herald going in the favor of G2.
This means G2 Esports extend their lead once again. And if you have just joined us in the previous games this series, when G2 Esports had a lead, they closed it out methodically, clinically, and technically extremely well.
And you can see that Amazing's just trying to get the steal, isn't quite able to secure it, even though he does use the smite. And the moment he gets a little too close, Wadid goes for the engage. Doesn't even need his flash. The follow with Miasma means that the Skarner can't flash away, and there was more than enough damage to help pick up another kill for G2.
The only thing they could have done here, Shagan, what they tried to do was just steal away Rift Held, and then Amazing flashes out. Sadly, he didn't get the smite down in time. He also didn't get to flash, or he ended up dying. You can see the rest of the team were just staying back. But they were committing, they were risking it to try and slow down G2 and their snowball.
And now the Drake is about to spawn, and they're in a prime position to secure it. Bot lane has been pushed up. Yes, Perkz got pushed underneath his tower a little bit, but because G2 have control over the river, they're the ones with vision control, and they can secure another easy objective.
And Schalke again are moving near the objective. They want to try and contest or at least slow down G2 a bit, but they're behind in items right now, and GP is mid lane.
And I don't think they can even fight this. Remember, G2's comp has a much stronger mid-game spike on a single item. Trinity Force for the Gangplank, Stormrazor for the Xayah. Schalke's comp is all about scaling. They need to stall for as long as possible if they want to stand a chance of winning this game.
I was waiting to see if there was a flank going to come in. Chachi and Vander were setting themselves up north and south of G2 Esports, decide not to pull the trigger. That's the second Schalke tower that's toppled. Going into the 15-minute mark, G2 are once again in control.
Yep, it's another early game where they get the advantage and they just show exactly what you need to do. They're not giving Schalke a chance to get a pick or a big fight, to get back in the game. They're saying, we're going to take every single objective away from you, and whenever you try and step in to look for anything, sure, it's fine. We're pushing another lane and can get a free objective. So they have bot turret down, mid turret down, top lane is already low, and now this Drake, if Schalke try and fight it, GP ulti is available in just a few seconds.
And I'm glad you mentioned him, because Wonder's having a much better game than he did against Misfits. He was solo dying multiple times. We saw a whole presentation from Dracos about how the team has not been able to perform when Wonder is put in more of a carry position rather than this bruiser champion that he can build his own leads on. He's been able to hold his own, he's in a good spot, and now with G2 all hitting their one-item spikes in the mid-game, they can feel confident at trying to force more plays.
There are some items that have just been picked up by Schalke, so potentially, before any fights break out in the bottom lane, take a look what happens as Nukeduck runs for his life. There's threatening postures here from G2, invading into the jungle, looking for a target, looking for an opportunity. And if Upset sticks around, he could be in trouble.
Yeah, again, Schalke need one good fight, and they can get back in this game instantly.
Oh, yes.
Because they have Azir plus Kai'Sa for the late game. It's absolutely fantastic how strong they can be. But they need to stop the bleeding right now, and that is the #1 goal for the team.
And of course, part of the reason that G2 have been so good and so clean at taking advantage of the leads, if you look at their achievements that is held by Perkz and the organization, 5 times EU LCS finals, 4 times winners, been to Worlds or MSI, group stage finishes 3 times. They went to an MSI final. Now, admittedly, that was Perkz and the organization, and now he's got a bunch of players around him that he's leading, trying to add to this accomplishments list.
Yeah, at the beginning of the year, we had a new G2 lineup come into the EU LCS, and many different people had many different ideas about how it would perform. And after a bit of a shaky season, they managed to make it to the finals. They didn't go to MSI, that was Fnatic, but this split, they started off 6-0, and everyone was like, oh, the G2 plan is coming together. They just needed time to build up. They needed that synergy to grow. But then when it really mattered, when this team really needed to perform, they got 3-0'd by Misfits. they weren't able to make it past the quarterfinals in the Gauntlet. And expectations were that that's it, G2's out, the era is dead. But now here they are, one win away from securing the 3rd seed at Worlds and making it their 3rd time in a row, ever since the organization joined Europe to qualify for Worlds.
Now we're looking at the bottom lane right here, Yanin. Together with Jankos, all game long, Jankos has been around this dual lane. They are pushing up once again, but we get the same kind of part of the game as last one, where you get all the outer turrets down pretty quickly, you get a big goal lead, but going for tier 2 turrets takes a bit more time. You can't just rush them down. Might get a fight though.
This is definitely the case. Vander's in so much trouble. Throws down the ulti, tries to hold on to the flash for now. Gets a 2-man knockout. The cannon barrage simply not on the right target, but Hjarnan takes out Vander. Yes, Amazing gets the impale, but it's simply no follow-up. There's simply no damage. 2 teleports coming down. G2 Esports have a 5-man stack in the bottom lane, and Vizicsacsi cancelled his.
G2 find another successful pick onto Vander. He was completely out of position. He had his flash, he had his ulti, didn't use either of them to get out of that situation. Sorry, he did throw out the ulti, but to me it came out a little too late, and you saw the power as well from Jankos being able to just shred through it with his Reckless Swing.
It's split calls right here. Vander saying, hey, we can take the fight because we have our jungler on the way and our mid laner on the way. But G2 say, we're stronger. Of course we want to take the fight. So look at Amazing. He doesn't know, should I go down or not? He ends up kind of jumping back and forth, realizing he can't actually commit, and Wadid just jumps him instantly. And then Amazing is forced to flash out. Schalke, again, are hoping to stall the game and stop G2 from getting further ahead. And that's when you can't take these risky fights where Vander ends up just giving up his life.
Yeah, nearly 20 minutes into the game, and G2 are extending that gold lead 4,500. Yes, Nukeduck got some damage down with those Sand Soldiers, but we've still not seen him use an Emperor's Divide. Not seen him find an opportunity to split up a team fight, and G2 are stamping control in match points in this regional final.
It is still possible for Schalke, though, to hold on to the tier 2 turrets. They have good wave clear with the Azir. If he gets to the city and hammer away on the waves, Schalke can try and stall the game. But the problem is, it's all in G2's favor. And as long as G2 remain proactive and use Wadid's great engages, they will get the fights.
I feel like Schalke also have pretty solid pick potential too. A single overstep from G2 could result in a Skarn ultimate coming through and you immediately getting chain CC'd by this Schalke comp to enable a pick. So a lot of options still available for Schalke, but as you said, Deficio, right now the game pace is being dictated by that of G2. And you just look at some of the items that they finished as well, but the Storm Razor and the Rapid Fire Cannon finished for Hjarnan at 20 minutes into the game. You have the QSS already finished for Perkz as well. Things are looking good.
Oh! Flash past the Petrifying Gaze, and that Emperor's Divide manages to send Perkz flying, but there's not enough follow-up damage. Twin Fang after Twin Fang! Perkz does it! This is his lane kingdom, and he shuts down Nukeduck. Vander's running for his life, but it's a double kill to Perkz.
And we talked about the play you can try and do as Azir. He did it actually, he got behind Perkz, knocks him into his team, but there is not enough follow-up damage, and Perkz managed to turn it around, secure a bunch of kills for G2. They're not done yet.
No, they're not. Here's the follow-up fight. Upset's already used the Killer Instinct. Defensive flash away. Tower in the top lane falls to Hjarnan, uncontested, and G2 continue to extend their lead.
And so much credit has to be given to Wadid. This man played that beautifully, landing his ulti onto all 3 members of Schalke, and then setting up the play to get the return kill onto Nukeduck. This is the return of the Hjarnan and Wadid from the good old days.
Exactly, that's why I wanted to see more Wadid Rakan, because he used to be so good on the champion, but just didn't find the success on G2 yet. This is the play from Nukeduck. He managed to flash past the ulti of Perkz, knock him then back in towards Upset and Vander. But here, Vander, if you want to go in, you gotta instantly go with your flash. The problem is he gets ulted by Wadid, so he can't do it fast enough. He tries to save his mid laner. Simply ends up meaning another kill. Wadid and Perkz just completely outplayed.
It was beautiful to see Nukeduck's play countered by Perkz's play, both on the same.
And then
just his reaction was fantastic.
I mean, technically right there, Nukeduck got the better end of the trade, because he got Perkz knocked back.
Yep.
Problem for him is this support right next to him.
And of course, the support for G2 Esports, 100% kill participation, 005 on this Rakan. And for G2, they've played around this bottom lane again. Jankos has basically been holding hands with the duo for a very long time during the first 20 minutes. And now they're roaming that all the towers are down and pushing that lead further. 3 Drakes secured, 6,000 gold lead, 4 towers to 0. G2 on the cusp of booking their flights to South Korea.
And we talked about it a little bit earlier, Deficio, but I want to highlight it again. Hyunwoo and Wadid have shown the width of what they're capable of in this gauntlet. Originally, they were just the Ashe Tahm Kench lane. They were the Ziggs Morgana lane. They were just the bot lane that would farm and survive. But we've seen the Heimerdinger, the outplays that they're able to make. We've seen the Varus, the late game carries that he's capable of playing. And now we've seen the Xayah Rakan, the playmaking early game duo that's able to generate their own lead.
And I have to say, this is very necessary if G2 are going to perform at Worlds, if they do manage to qualify, because you need to have multiple lanes you can play around. The fact they can actually go GP in this one, focus all jungle attention on Xayah Rakan is great. Now, it's not over yet for G2 Esports, and I think a lot of it still comes down to the picks from Schalke's bottom lane. Not getting lanes where they can actually win, same with the last one. And it's forced Schalke to play very passive in this early game, because we said this already. They're not winning mid, they're not hard winning top. And if you then get, counterpick bot side, it's really difficult for you to actually have a lane to play around.
But I also see 2 items being completed on many Schalke members. It's that miracle 3rd item that we often talk about, where many late game carries regularly come online. And if Schalke could continue to stall things out, there is still the potential for that big late game team fight for them to turn things around.
Whenever you've got a hyper carry like Kai'Sa that has game-changing abilities, let's see what they can do. The thing is, you need to put that Kai'Sa in a position to do so. Petrifying Gaze from Perkz has been thrown down. It was for naught. Doesn't manage to get much more. However, that's not entirely fair, because deep vision has been established by G2 Esports. They're pushing that vision deeper and deeper into Schalke's jungle.
Now, what you'll see is G2, they are trying to get that deep vision so they can set up and threaten around Baron, but this objective is rather difficult to really force, because there's the Chachi ultimate with the Cho'Gath for the potential steal. There's the amount of damage that you have to soak up, because as G2, you don't have a tank. Someone that can just sit there and soak up the damage for an extended period, meaning that if they're going to commit to that objective, they have to be willing to secure it, which ideally means they want to either find a pick onto Schalke, or they want to do it when Schalke cannot challenge them.
It's either going to be Olaf and Cassiopeia together, just 2-manning it down while Schalke are busy on the rest of the map, or, as you highlighted, it is a fight first into Baron itself. And Schalke should know this. So they know, okay, try not to overextend around mid and Baron, so there is this opening for Wadid. If you can keep farming up, you still have a way back in the game, despite being this far down in gold. There's this normal ward outside the Baron pit placed already by Schalke. A lot of them actually around just to spot what's going on, and G2 needs to use the sweeper outside if they actually want to get rid of all of it.
It's such a difficult situation to be in, because we've already seen multiple times this series that G2 do not make mistakes when ahead. They do not present many opportunities for Schalke to come back in. And if you think back to the previous game, there was a couple of base team fights that were set up by an Ornn-Rakan combo that Schalke could have used to establish some sort of climb back. But it didn't happen frequently enough, and G2 didn't present any further opportunities.
Let's see if they can do it here, because I think Schalke are still, like, while they're behind and it's a rough situation, like, they're still getting farm and they're getting their items right now on the carries. And one thing about Wadid here on Rakan, because he's against Skarner, he has to go QSS, so he's extremely squishy when he jumps in. The initial all-in is all he really brings to the table. If he just gets instantly one-shot after, you better hope that knock-up or charm he lands will get G2 a kill. But it's going to be hard for him to do it, and I think Vander in the late game fight can be super disruptive, especially against someone like Perkz if he just knocks him away.
Completely agree with you, Deficio, and levels are often a thing that I look at to determine how far behind
the two-man Baron
is. But you talked about it, the double blue trinket comes out though, and that's pretty crucial for Schalke, because that's relatively long cooldown, and now Vizicsacsi, he's going to be the one to face check. He has Vander following up behind him, but G2 are lying in wait.
Just over 3,000 HP, takes a powder kick to the face. Wadid is not there. Look on the minimap, Wadid can flank. He has flash and ultimate available to him. Upset looks to take out this tower, and backs away, hasn't used the supercharge until that very moment. All of a sudden, there's the engage. 1, 2, the knockup doesn't catch Nukeduck, but the ultimate does. Nukeduck flashes for his life, and Perkz petrifies him to death. Vizicsacsi forced to flash to safety. The rupture not going to be enough. This will be the second kill in favor of G2, and it's Hyuna that picks it up.
And this was the fight that G2 were looking for, and it comes off the back of Wadid. He picks the Rakan, he finds the flank, Schalke lose 2 members, and now the Baron is in their eyes.
And we have to mention there is no cleanse on the side of Nukeduck, so when he gets chomped, he cannot get out of it in time. He picked Ignite, he wanted to be more aggressive. So even without hitting the knockup, Wadid gets in range, locks him in place, and Nukeduck drops instantly.
And now G2 with a 10,000 gold lead after finding this big fight. And Wadid, he looks like he's miles away. He gets spotted on the control ward, and they're just waiting. G2 regroup in the mid, and that's when the engage comes in from Wadid.
And he knows it's not the perfect setup yet because he's walking through Vander, but he just got to get in range of Nukeduck and touch him with the ulti, and he cannot get away without cleanse, and he will die. This is an Azir who's been farming and farming and farming, and in the first big team fight, he just dies instantly.
What a beautiful play from Wadid. Uses the full kit to just perfection. And this is what we actually wanted to see for a very long time out of Wadid. He actually was very hard on himself on social media after the quarterfinal performance, talking about underplaying and not showing up. I tell you what, Wadid is doing it today.
He saw the Tahm Kench ban from Schalke, and he says, the shackles have been released. I am now free to play my playmakers, and he has been phenomenal. 0-0-7, 100% kill participation. A Baron up G2 are looking to break into the base of Schalke.
And Schalke, they were just trying to hold on. They were trying to delay the Baron. They were trying to get some gold with the mid lane turret, but they couldn't get it down in time. Another fight.
Let's take a look at this. Miasma comes down, petrifying gaze as well. Vizicsacsi is being melted down by those twin fangs, as well as the Ragnarok and Ragnar rolling. Jankos after the kill. That's the 6th tower secured. They get the Azir passive as well. And now G2 with 2 minutes left on Baron. They've got a numbers advantage, and they're setting up for the mid lane.
And now the front line is gone for Schalke. Only Vander is left, and he's not going to be tanky enough to deal with all 5 members of G2 that are so strong and want to secure that spot at Worlds.
Vander's forced to use that ultimate just to stay alive, to flash defensively, not to find knockups, not to set Schalke up for a comeback. And Schalke are 12,000 gold down. Super minions in the mid lane, and G2 are, they're tasting the Korean barbecue as they're so close to booking their tickets.
And there's no way this team believed in this after they lost 3-0 in the quarterfinals, but they have 3 weeks to practice. They fix a lot of their mistakes. They go into the gauntlet, they beat Splyce, and now they're looking to 3-1 Schalke.
One final team fight is all Schalke can hope for as G2 run rampant in their base.
Perkz is running a little bit lower on mana and chasing forward onto Vizicsacsi, throwing out those twin fangs. 2 lanes with super minions in the first 2.5 minutes of Baron. That is going to be exceptionally valuable. G2 have to back away, buy everything they can, the yada yada yada, as Fischer talked about earlier this series, and look for one final siege, one final fight to win the series.
And now we know, go top lane, wait for Schalke to go back to their own Nexus turrets and defend, and then secure the last inhib for yourself. Chachi wants to kill a ward.
Yep.
That is a pretty useless ward as well, and he ends up just getting caught out because of it. G2 are around and they instantly engage. We really got to give them the credit for never playing too passive, never slowing down, always looking for the pick, and I guess best, also easiest prediction ever. They're going top lane.
Yep.
They are going top lane, man. G2, they were struggling to find their form after the disappearance of Funnel, and maybe they didn't find it in time for playoffs, but they found it in time for Gauntlet. They still want to go to Worlds, they still want to represent Europe, and they are so close to securing it.
Now, take a look at this. Perkz is pushing forward, looking for the Miasma. There's the Blade Caller, manages to lock down Chachi. Vandy's already going to fall. Hjarnan takes him down with the crit. 4-man defense from Schalke. Super Minions not inside the base yet. They're not even needed. Schalke are still reeling on the verge of defeat.
Yeah, they're never getting the proper engage here. Now we're just waiting for super minions in mid and bot lane. Meanwhile, the rest of G2, 5 members alive. Looking for that last inhib.
They are indeed. It's still 17 seconds before Vander is alive. The Rupture buys a little bit of time, and Baron Buff has worn off, so that will be a little bit longer to push into the base. A couple of autos starting to land. There's the engage. What it goes in, goes out, finds Amazing. Nukeduck's already running for his life. He's been burst down so low. Killer Instinct's been used by Upset, but there's not enough follow-up, not enough damage, not enough! Nukeduck escapes with his life for now. Vizicsacsi's the next target. What did in the rest of G2? Four-man stack chasing him down. The Noxian Blast won't connect just yet, and Chachi survives a few seconds longer. Jankos hits him with the Undertow, but the Nexus target is the focus. Upset and Vander trying to do what they can to finish off the Super Minions. Yawnen goes up, he's knocked backwards to the Emperor's Divide, but Nukeduck is obliterated. Upset the last man standing. The Nexus is the focus. G2 Esports will not be denied another international showing. G2 Esports will keep up 100% participation, taking down Schalke. G2 are Europe's third seed at Worlds. I could hear their screams over my screams.
They were so loud towards the end, but again, it's a team that I think entered the gauntlet as the weakest looking team on paper after getting 3-0 by Misfits. So many issues. We didn't know what style they would play. We didn't know if the players could actually perform. The bottom lane got so much criticism. And after beating Splyce yesterday and now beating Schalke today, they really showed that they've fixed so many of their problems and they look really good.
G2 showed a lot of improvement in their time off. Even in yesterday's series, they were able to grow. And when this team gets an early game lead, damn, do they look clean.
The best Heimerdinger in the world is going to Worlds. I hope he can get a chance to play it. Turning our attention to Schalke 04, of course. The magic ran out after a fantastic final.
Yes.
Schalke came into the gauntlet as heavy favorites. And unfortunately today, individual errors and a weak early game cost them against G2 Esports.
Which is so interesting because they had the strong early game against Fnatic in the finals. But going from playing in the big stadium, winning early games and then having to finish the games, they had to readjust. They didn't get to play any games on the stage here until this last best of 5, and they looked different. A lot more passive, and very hard for him to get any sort of advantage in any lane.
And in the final game, we saw a couple of crucial mistakes. Vander, Headbutt Pulverize, getting caught out twice. And the fact that Amazing was put behind in the jungle, it just felt like G2 drafted towards winning early. Schalke went full-on scaling.
Really targeted Amazing early game.
Yes.
Like heavily,
but then
especially on the Jankos side.
Schalke could not stall out long enough to get to those late game fights. And it is a bit of a shame that we didn't get to see the Schalke that was showing up against Fnatic. But at the same time, you have to praise G2 so much for how well
Super quickly, gentlemen, sorry to interrupt you, but we are getting ourselves set up for the final post-game lobby of the European LCS Summer Split. Shox is setting up on stage with the players. While we get that set up, we are going to talk through just a few more things. Let's talk about player of the series very quickly. Head over to @LOL Esports and vote on Twitter for either Wunder, Jankos, or Perkz. Some might call it a holy trinity. Someone at the end, anyway. While they continue to get set up, you know, I think we still have to step back and praise Schalke. This Summer Split was phenomenal. To say that they finished second is not something that many people would have expected or predicted at the beginning of the split.
Yeah, very, very true. They had a really impressive playoffs run. The fact that they were able to take down Splyce by winning a lot of late game team fighting. They were able to match Vitality in their early game in the semi-final as well. And they had a hard-fought series against Fnatic. No, they're not going to the World Championship, but this team showed a lot of prowess in what was one of the most competitive splits that EU has ever had.
They did. And actually, we have a couple of LCS big plays from the regional qualifiers. All of these are brought to you by Acer Predator. All right, while we run through some of these clips, the first series, Splyce managed to come out on top in Game 5 after an impressive performance from Kobbe on Vayne. Misfits, they did their best, but this was their final 2018 hour.
Ult from Xerxes or Uramnis ult himself.
Perkz playing with fire there, does get the silence down on 2 members, buys a bit of time, but Splyce have priority access to the mid lane.
Oh, nice!
Kobbe, they want to take him down! Top can just save the day. They're looking to reset the fight. They've now pulled Perkz back into the team. The ulti has been canceled. Perkz is deleted immediately. The Urgot, though, getting the fear. If they take out the tank here, it will turn the fight in their favor. Kami doing what he can to disengage. Wadid has been picked off, has been taken out. Odoamne is buying enough time. Is the stun enough? Hjarnan goes golden. The tower connects. It's such a close fight. The zombie is there. The curtain call. This is the end for G2. Jankos gets taken down. Wunder next on the list, but the damage from the Urgot is enough to try to turn it.
What do I say? I cleared it. Do not let them pass. Do not let them pass here.
Can this choke again?
I'm coming.
Eat me.
Hey, you guys looking Mazar?
Yeah. Fast
Stay slow, guys. Stay
Go slow.
I'm clear.
No ulti. No ulti. Let's not flash.
Okay, I stand them.
Go back.
Heimer first.
I have passive.
Ah, shit. Play with me.
I'm on Heimer. I'm gonna ult.
Yeah. Look Jhin, okay? Play with
Turgot.
Urgot no flash.
Turgot on flash.
Dasha, can you tank? Yeah. Not anymore.
Not anymore, apparently.
Different fight, but pretty sick fight.
Yes.
I loved watching that fight yesterday just because of how chaotic it was and how much awareness each of the pro players had. The fact that the Zhonya's came out just before the big crit hit the Jhin, and the fact that the Kasing save at the last second and the flash, it was such a great fight. I would highly recommend watching it multiple times because there were so many good plays in it.
We just did. We'll watch it a little bit more later. Now, the day after that, it was all about G2. Perkz came up huge on the Akali. The Croatian mid laner was huge for his team in the Gauntlet, stepping up when they needed him most.
Half health Odoamne now trying to back off the wave. Perkz gonna throw down a bit of damage using the first ulti proc to leap in. Needs the passive proc, gets a little bit more damage. One more ulti, is it going to be enough? Takes him down.
I'm pushing button all this.
Does he have ult?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
And this guy's hinting.
This guy has flash. Nice. Carrying alone, actually. No.
Yes, he is.
Oh, the
He is
flash!
going to get the resurrection, but now they're just going to burn him down. Galio's on the way in, but Perkz is not even going to get hit by the CC. Pulled back into the middle of the team. Kami now trying to run. Is he going to get it? No. 5-point strike. Xing having to slow down Perkz. Throwing out those bombs is incredibly risky, however, because the second you throw one...
I will go on Galio, no flash.
I'm gonna zone.
I'll go on side, I'll go Galio. Galio no flash,
Yeah,
go mid. We can go here?
Yeah.
Look.
Looks easy. I absolutely
so
love watching Akali running around killing people. I don't want to play against him myself, but I can watch it.
Maybe with Perkz mechanics, it's easy. It's definitely not for the rest of us. Listen, today against Schalke, a lot of help from his jungler Jankos, who went all the way to the semifinals with H2K at Worlds 2016, and now he's going to get another chance. Jankos and Wunder, they decide to engage, waiting for the teleport. It starts to channel. Amazing flash forward for the chop. Gets knocked up by the decimating smash. First blood picked up by Jankos. It all started with Jankos playing effectively both top and bottom lane, and G2 at 31 minutes have been in control the entire game.
Here we go.
Forge God comes out. Yes, that's a two-man knockup, but Giannis forced to flash. The Impale catches out Nukeduck. Keep your eyes on Upset. Yes, he's got Infinity Edge, but he cannot get through Wunder. There's simply too much frontline.
Yeah. I will look for the blank, okay?
They spelled it.
Look LeBlanc.
The back side.
I will on Sire, okay? I'll just on Sire.
No there.
Flex shit is out.
Slowly.
I think he got the blank.
Yeah, so where were we looking?
Definitely, yeah. I'm pretty sure I also managed to communicate it very well. And
Yes.
that is important. You got to make it clear so everyone is on the same
Good
page.
communication there.
I can actually see Jankos' face right now. He's very proud of the fact that he managed to catch LeBlanc there. So very, very nicely done. Of course, so thank you very much. That was the Ace of Predator Big Plays. I believe we are actually ready and set up. Not just yet, production's letting me know. That does it. Fnatic, Vitality, and G2 Esports will be representing us at the World Championships, Fischer.
Yes, sir. And G2 will win every single game in the playing stage.
There we go. Every single game. You've heard it here first. Let's find out if the players agree. For more on tonight's action, let's head over to Shox, who's sitting by with G2 Esports.
I guess we were waiting for the intro tune. Welcome to the post-game lobby, everyone. Also, everyone that's still hung around in the studio. Thank you so much for that. And congratulations, G2 Esports, for winning the Gauntlet. So I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think I would be saying those words at the end of this, but I slowly got convinced over the last couple of days. Jankos, you had the most emotional reaction, I think, out of everyone after just winning.
It was fake.
It was really
Was
fake.
it fake?
It was for PR.
No
It was
way.
fake. He was like, I'm just not emotional, but I'm gonna scream now.
Yeah, he's like,
Oh.
I'm gonna scream now
I said
in 5
like
seconds.
my emotions are building up and then I exploded because I just can't
imagine going home now and not being able to attend another Worlds after my failure with the H2K last year. I just really had to go to Worlds, and I'm still really disappointed that we were in a huge slump before Misfits game, and we couldn't actually fight for any top spots, even though Fnatic will probably still play really well. But yeah.
I'm going to give you another chance to do that because Wonder is trying to steal your thunder. Is your mic not working?
It works?
Yeah, it does work.
Nice.
All right.
It didn't work before.
Okay, well, we're glad we established that. Jankos, let's go back to that. I think your story is one of the craziest ones. Of course, you left H2K that you played for such a long time to join a lineup to win. You know, we all know this, that it was to have the highest highs. So can you tell me kind of the experience of what it was like for you personally to go through everything you've gone through with this team and then now finally qualifying for Worlds?
I mean, I think the team is fine. We, played fine in like summer split. It was actually my first final, so I was really happy back then. And then I felt like in the summer split, we would be only better. But at some point, especially after Rift Rivals, we didn't play well, and without Funel, we couldn't play the game almost. And then, we failed really hard in the quarterfinals, and I think that was like the most devastating lose for all of us. And we just had to basically go on vacation for 1 week and relax. And it worked out, as you can see, because when we came back, it felt like our emotions are in check and we will actually play better than we did. And, the last 2 weeks of scrims were insane and we learned so much. And it just feels like the team is actually working out, And I think I want to give a huge shout out to Perkz because I think he's like giving his best and he like taught us so much about the game. So I'm kind of grateful that I have such a good teammate.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Perkz, let's go to you then. The man on G2 Esports who was the only person remaining coming into this year. How have you felt throughout this year when it wasn't working? And how do you feel right now?
I need a moment. I'm going to cry. Like, I need a moment. Like,
okay, no worries.
No, well, I thought that, like, with the time, we could be really, really good. And Spring Split, I feel like we, done kind of our best. I mean, I feel like there was no way we could be better than Fnatic in Spring Split, where they were together for 2 years. I mean, 1 year and a half, and we were for just 3 months. So, but I had really high hopes for us in Summer Split, and when we came back, we were we were pretty good and we were creative, and it feels like we learned a lot from Spring Split. But then I don't know, something happened, and I don't know if we got complacent or I don't know, we just had a slump, a big slump, where we didn't know what to do, and we were losing every game. So that's what happened with the quarterfinals. So I honestly, I expected us to be in the finals with Fnatic this split, and maybe even beat them, And on the other hand, I got 3-0 in quarterfinals. So it was really tough for me to accept that reality that I'm, after playing 5 finals in a row, getting 3-0 in quarterfinals by Misfits. And after that, I went home. And after 1 week, I still couldn't believe the fact that I got 3-0 by Misfits. And then I was just really determined. Like I said, it was set my goals, and I was even though it was really tough to think clearly, right? I was really pessimistic. I set myself the goal to do whatever I can best to make Worlds, and if I don't make Worlds, it just sucks, But we made Worlds, and I don't know, are we good now? We are really good now. I'm not sure. So we are gonna see at Worlds. I feel like we played really, really well today, and I'm so proud of everyone. So just want us to do the same at Worlds.
Yeah, great stuff. Just one final follow-up. I do not want to make you emotional, but you've gone through a lot with the organization, right? You've gone through the whole roster swaps throughout 2016 and 2017, then with Sven and Mithy, then everyone left. Do you think you have used some of the experience you gained in the last couple of weeks to also help your teammates and talk to them in this crucial moment, in this crucial gauntlet? Do you feel like you're a new Perkz?
I'm sometimes negative. I mean, I'm negative. I'm trying to push everyone to be the best in the world, and it can be really, really fucking annoying. So the problem is that I've been competing with the best in the world, and I really have so much joy from that. And then when I see us sucking versus EU teams, I just it's hard for me. I have to mature a lot to actually accept that, Mm-hmm. So this was the biggest step for me this year, and only thing I did was trying to be as positive as possible and as supportive as possible. So that was I knew that's the highest chance we will win, and we won. So it paid off, and yeah, we're gonna go forward.
You guys were crazy today. I'm going to go to the other members as well, maybe. What did from the bottom lane? We all know there's been a lot of criticism on you guys the whole year. You had to fill the biggest shoes, you two. How do you look back on everything? I know you've always been very outspoken on Twitter. When you let the team down, you had a feeling. How do you feel now?
Well, first of all, like, we are joining G2 from Rocket, which is for sure they had before, like, Myth and Japan. Of course, they were the best bot in Europe. But
the West. Best bot in the West.
Okay.
It's like a meme, but it's true as well.
Okay, sure. But anyways, like, we try to reach our goal that we at least try our best. That actually G2 picked us from our really good like plays and like play styles from Rocket. That we can actually like play around our bot lane, and then just if we have good matchup bot lane, we can just play around that as well. We have a lot of potential, you know, but we just don't know how to play the game. I mean, maybe Yarna knows. I mean, I'm for sure. I mean, sorry, it's my bad. But I mean, Yarna is veteran, right? But I'm just random Korean. Like it was my first year, last year, and then this time it was my like first international tournament at the NA Rift Rivals, and then it was my first BO5 full game. Yesterday as well, so I feel like I just need some experience, but still, like, if I just have my confidence, I can just play whatever I want and then just play whenever, like, when I can just engage, I can just engage, you know, like, I'm just random Korean, who cares, you know?
Haha, well, I have to say, today you were crazy. Your engages on Rakan and just in general were insane. I think you... Perkz doesn't agree that you're all being...
I'm just joking.
You guys are joking, you guys are very funny.
But I saw his Rakan before, and, like, this Rakan last game was good. His saving is so insane, but like his Rakan can be so much better. Like he's the best Rakan if he like tries a bit harder. You know?
We'll see at Worlds.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not best right now, but still like I'm young, you know. So like I can still learn, and then this time is my first Worlds as well. So like I'm so excited. I can play in my country, and then even if I go to quarters or like out of the group, we can just go to play in my hometown, and you know the actual stage is actually like 10 minutes away from my home, so it's like I'm so excited, you know.
That is a goal. Like if you weren't enough motivated, you may be able to play in your hometown. That's crazy. But you guys have a long way to go there. Yarnan, of course, I'm going to go to you first. How confident do you feel in your support? He's saying that you have all the experience and you're now going to Worlds too.
I think as long as me and Vadid just know what our job is in game and what we should do, we are playing generally really good. Like for example, like in sort of split, when our job was basically just to like play safe, and we were gonna play throughout top and mid. We will play it really well, and right now we play more throughout bot, and we know how to snowball it now as well. We were a bit bad on it in the beginning, but I feel like as long as we are confident, me and Vadid, we can beat anyone, I think.
All right, wonderful. Wonder then, I believe your family's here as well. Did I see them or?
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, my dad, mom, and stepdad is here.
Oh, wonderful. I mean, it must be great that they can see and share this great moment with you there. A big applause. I know they're always supporting you. What does it mean to you to go back to Worlds? Of course, you did it with Splyce a couple of years ago. How is this different? And how do you think you can do with this lineup?
Well, when I went to World with Splyce, it was also through the Gauntlet. And honestly, we were all like, even like all 5 players on the roster were rookies. Even though Trashy, I mean, he played when it was called Trashy back then. He played 1 split in NA. He was still like a rookie. Yeah, he was still a rookie. And we all went to Worlds for the first time. We all went to the first international event together, and that was Worlds. So we were like all really inexperienced in how we actually are supposed to like go to Korean boot camp, and how we actually like practice efficiently, and how we like practice, how we know we can practice ourselves the best. So now I feel like I'm way smarter, and I'm just way more self-aware. So going to Korea for the bootcamp is going to be like way easier for me, and I think I'm going to learn so much more, even though like I feel like I'm way better than I was back then, of course.
Okay, I don't know if you know, but yesterday Dracos had like this segment where he was like, G2, whatever you do, do not pick Gangplank, and he had really legitimate reasons for it.
Oh, I was really bad this game. Like, trust me, I don't know, like, both games. Okay, to be fair, like both games, I didn't play GP at all. I think in solo queue like the last 2 weeks or something. And like both games, first when I played against Misfits, and this game, we sit in Champ Select on stage, and Perkz tells me, you should really pick GP here. It's really, really good. And I'm like, I was laughing when he said it this time because last time it went really horrible, right? So I was laughing. And I was like, yeah, just do it. And we just picked GP, and I didn't really have to do much. I just had to like press ult, and my team carried. So.
Yeah, well, it was wonderful. To button up this series, player of the series, I just spoiled it by looking at you. Jankos, 47% of the votes. Congratulations.
Rick.
I mean, we were really looking at what Jankos was going to show up this weekend. It's no, I think, secret that you weren't always great this split. So what do you think was different? I'm trying to do this without like firing shots.
I mean,
I'm just being respectful. So what was it like in the Gauntlet? Because I feel like we saw a different Jankos yesterday already, like the Olaf games, and then today where you just bullied Amazing in his jungle.
I feel like when we were playing the Funeral Comp, I couldn't really play like normal champs. So it was a bit weird for me to play Braum and be best Braum instead of best, I know, Lee Sin, whatever. And afterwards, I felt like before the Gauntlet, we as a team played way better, so that could allow me to play better. I mean, for sure, I did perform better than I did perform in, Misfit series, because you could say Maxwell was like really jungling me. But I also felt in this series that I was really lost. I didn't know what is good, what is bad, how to play the game, because our scrims are just so fucking terrible that it was impossible to play the game. And, 2-3 weeks of scrims was like lose every game, can't win, can't do anything, and that's why I felt like my performance, along with the team performance, was just not as good. And for sure, I did pick up a little bit for the Gauntlet, but I also think my team just played so insane. I think we won every game, every lane, almost. So it was insane, and we played well.
You guys played really well. Does any of you want to say something to Schalke 04? They had a crazy summer. They were insane. They made it all the way to finals, and I think they put up a great fight. Unfortunately, they didn't make it. Do you want to say anything to your competitors, Perks?
Well, I think that Schalke are all really good players, and I want to give special shout out to Amazing for like having such a rough last 1.5 years of career, really unlucky things happened to him, and he came back and he kind of showed everyone that he's still really good, and that he, honestly, he kind of carried his team from semi-finals, and in the finals he was playing well. Well, today he was facing Jankos, and Jankos is the best jungler in EU, so not much he could do. But also a shout out to Upset, which is in Spring Split he was having rough games, I guess, where he was I don't know if you can say choking or something, but just jumping in and dying once a game in a really big team fight. And this split, I think he's played really, really well every game almost, on various champions. So yeah, shout out to those two, and also to Nukeduck for playing really well the whole split. And then I think both Chachi and Wander did their job. They did what they had to do to facilitate the team. Also, I would like to shout out to Jankos because he shouted at me, so I have to be fair. And if any of the jungler played Braum with me, or Tamken support, he would int so hard that it would be really hard for me to play. But he learned Braum really fast. His first game was so disgusting. I was thinking I don't want to play with him anymore. But he really learned fast, and he got really fucking good. And also, I really thought the whole time he was the best jungler in EU, but he was really inting me some games, and I couldn't figure out why.
When is the positive part coming?
I just couldn't figure out why he's just running it down in my lane every game. But other than that, I really think that we're just gonna smash everyone. So.
Okay, so I would like to go back. I mean, it's nice that he had his moment, but I'd like to go back to the Schalke thing, and I'm really sad that me and Wander cannot attend Worlds together again, because in 2016 we played so well together, and it was such a great time. And right now Proli is going, and I just can't wait to meet Proli again. And I wished Wander would be there as the jungle support, friends kind of. But we have the new Polish duo, we have Jacktroll and Kiki, so I hope they will show up at the Worlds as well. Yeah,
let's talk a bit about Worlds then. Maybe first about, you just mentioned it, Vitality. They're a bit of a wild card. I know that teams like to underrate them, and analysts and maybe viewers as well, because they're a bit crazy and they team fight like crazy would did. How do you think Vitality is going to do at Worlds? They start in the group stage with some huge names, of course.
I think the Vitality's strong point is just everyone is just playing around the one play style, and they're just stable, They know how to just let one person carry, who is Kikis. And then also, I feel like compared to last split, Vitality bot lane improved so much, especially Jack Troll. Like, he was pretty bad before, but I feel like Jack Troll this season was like different person, you know? Like, he was just different person. Like, from his Korea boot camp, between the season, like, he improved so much, and I don't know what happened to him, but yeah, like, I just want to like make sure that Vitality's strong point is also bot side.
All right, does anyone else want to say something about Vitality's chances? I saw you guys giggling, so I don't know what that was about.
No?
Yarden, you always do this. You're always giggling, and then when people ask you about it, you're like, I can actually not talk about what I just said.
I think Vitality will do well. In week 1, they will go 3-0, and then in week 2, they will go 0-3.
Well, there's technically only 1 week.
I think it already depends on groups.
Well, it's all in one part. It's not like you wait 5 days and you come back.
they're gonna just like lose in round robin too, because everyone is gonna figure out what to do, and they have a really like straightforward playstyle where they like have 3 winning lanes and snowball game with Kikis. And if they don't play that, they won't lost every single game. So I mean, I don't think they should even change the style. I think they should keep what they do and just find new champions to do it and surprise everyone, and maybe they can make it other groups. But I think they should stick to it.
Yeah, I mean, they are a team that still just was victorious also in the 3rd place match in Madrid. I think we should give them the benefit of the doubt. They were great here in their first year in EU. I also want to touch on Fnatic real quick. Of course, our first seed going into... You don't want to talk about Fnatic?
Jankos wants to talk about
Fnatic. There are so many like internal memes that you guys have that I don't know about, so I'm going with the flow. Go ahead.
I think Fnatic is really insane. I think how they play with each other. I mean, I think their early games could use some improvement, because I feel like they lose early game in almost every game because they don't maybe track enemy jungle well enough, or they just pick scaling and they play for mid-late game. But when they do get to that mid-late game, they have Caps and Reckless, who are like so insane. And on top of it, they have Broxa, which is always stable every game and you can always count on him. And then if Beepo runs it down on top lane when he's playing GP, they can just sub in Soaz, and he will maybe not win lane, but he will be always really stable, always engaged, always know where to be on the map. And then they have Hylissang, who, in my opinion, is improvement from last year as well. And he always goes for the plays, you know. And maybe that's what they needed, someone to pull the trigger as well. So I think this team is really good. And for sure, they have a good shot at doing something at World Finals. And I'm actually curious how they will do. But I think if we play like we do today, because, I mean, I praise them and my team hates me for it. So I think if we do play like we did play today, I think we can actually like beat them.
Why does your team hate you for praising Fnatic?
Why do you guys say
Because he's, I can't say this on cast, but he's praising them, yeah. And all the time during the split, when we are about to face them. So he's basically just like, I can't even say this again. He's just like, he's just, yeah, send someone to take it over.
If you don't want to say it, I don't say it. But the devil on your shoulder is telling you to say it.
Yeah, like he's doing that to them, and then like we are like, okay, so he really wants to play in Fnatic or something, you know? And then we tell him to stop, and he stops, and then we win some games, you know?
That's not true. I stopped doing that because my team hated me so much. Because, I mean, in my opinion, Fnatic is playing well, so I would like meme a bit, right?
Yeah.
But
because you're like, oh, I left HGK for you guys, now I'm going to leave you for Fnatic. Like that?
Not really, but I would just like be that they're good and they're playing well and stuff. Yeah. But at some point, it got really triggering for my team, because from being a meme, they actually started believing that I think they are like so insane and they're unbeatable and stuff. So I had to stop doing it because they thought maybe I would have like mental block against this team or something.
In all seriousness, I think that's a lesson for probably everyone. Sometimes a joke, if you make it enough times, it might really hurt some people or it might be annoying. So good for you guys that you talked about it and that you overcame it. There we go.
Okay, no, I really want to touch on Fnatic as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because trust me, like, okay, I've been really toxic on Twitter.
Yes.
And
I
think at Worlds, their bot lane and top lane will get exposed, mainly. And I think if we played like we did today, and we played the finals, we would win against Fnatic.
All right.
Tough statement.
It's a big statement, and of course, it's people are going to say, well, then you should have been in the final, right?
It's true, yeah, it's true. But then we were really bad, and now we are a bit better.
A bit better.
Now they have.
Wonder, you played well for 2 best-of-5s now, right? Like, do you really think that that's consistent enough to challenge the Fnatic we've seen in the final?
I'm also judging from scrims, because before when we played, we were losing in scrims and losing on stage. Now we're winning in scrims and winning on stage, you know?
Yeah.
But I also think, to be fair, that now that they won the finals, they have so much time to prepare in Korea and stuff like that. So we can't really, also Vitality, you know, that we touched on before, you can't really like talk about them that much because what they showed in Europe, they're not, like they're going to show so much more and so much more different in Korea because they had so much time. So I think also us, we cannot like, we can maybe say how we are probably going to perform in the play-ins, but like it's going to be so much different and the meta is going to change and like so much is going to change basically. So I just think it's hard to say.
Well, that's what I want to get at, right? Because you know what? If you think that you could have beaten them, I will take your word for it. But the only way you're going to prove it to the people at home is by kicking ass in play-ins, making it to groups, and hopefully playing in Wadid's hometown for the quarterfinals and beyond. So let's talk about it then. Worlds, the play-ins, Perkz, you've always gone as first seed, and always people have put so much freaking pressure on you guys that you had to win the whole thing or you had to be amazing. Now you're going in as third seed. How different does it feel? And do you think maybe it's going to help you mentally?
I mean, I think last year we were really, really good, and we got like really unlucky with our like one play of winning the game, one play of losing the game, one draft of winning the game, one draft of losing the game. So I think that Worlds is like really a lot about luck. What kind of group do you get? And if we get the group that like we did in 2016, where we got CLG and Albus Nox, we're not going to lose to them because I was boosted back then. So like it just depends. If we get a Korean rank 1 and rank 2 China, maybe it's hard, and if we don't, then I think we can make it out. Okay. So yeah, I really have hopes in us making other groups because third seed is a lucky charm.
It is a lucky charm.
Yes.
It's been wonderful for Europe. The teams out of third seed have always done really well. Jarnen, yeah, the World Championship is upon us. It is your first one. I'm just making sure I'm not making a mistake.
Second.
The second one.
2015 I went to.
Yes.
With H2K.
All right, I'm very sorry. But you're back now. Why were you guys laughing? I'm not sure, so I don't know if you're trolling me.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I told you he's not wrong, you know? Like,
all right.
We're just really happy we won.
In any case, you're going back. So what do you think you guys can do? It's no secret that the bot lane has had some question marks, but it seems like you guys have a good performance in this gauntlet.
I think we just have to do what we've been doing, like just play every game with confidence and know what we're going to do and have our game plan set for us from both sides, and then just have like high communication, and yeah, that's pretty much it, I think.
Yeah, play-ins should be no problem.
I really want playing teams or like the group teams to not ban Heimer. I'm not sure if this will be like the meta, but like I'm really curious to know.
They're gonna let it through a couple of times at least, so then they will. The Heimerdinger.
Good thing I didn't hear.
I didn't hear, yeah.
Okay. All right, we're going to wrap this up almost. Would you guys like to say something to the G2 army? Ocelot maybe do it, just kidding. You guys have put them through it in this year, but I think you can be super proud of making it to Worlds. Who wants to take the words, talk to the fans?
Well, I can start, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful for to all the fans that you guys were still cheering for us, even though we were losing. And yesterday I went on Reddit, and like in the our thread, like Splyce versus G2, everyone's like they don't deserve Schalke, there's more to go to Worlds and stuff. And I was like, I couldn't believe it, you know. I just couldn't believe, like, we are playing our hearts out on stage and we are practicing, like we are not, I know we are just trying so hard, and like how can someone say that you don't deserve it? But anyway, the most important thing is that we made it, and I hope some of our fans will be not as disappointed, even though we lost in quarters. And I'm really grateful for all the support, and dziękuję bardzo to my Polish fans as well.
Awesome. Someone else?
Yeah, I can say a few words. I would like to thank everyone for supporting me since a long time. I've been with G2 actually since 2015, and that's like really long time. And it's looking like I'm gonna stay like with G2 for a long time. So it's nice that I get so much support, and every year I feel like I get more and more support, and it's just like really nice to see that I have like many people supporting me. So yeah, thank you guys.
There we go. Well then, thank you guys as well. I'm very excited for you guys to see what you can do at Worlds. Is it boot camp right away? When are you guys doing what?
Hopefully Tuesday we leave to Korea.
And then practice hard and make it. Fantastic. We will be seeing G2 at the World Championship, so thank you guys very much and congratulations. Now I would like to take another moment to just thank everyone here, and if you want, you guys can join me on stage. We'll all be here and we'll say goodbye to the European LCS for the last show of the year. Come on over, everyone. Production, players that are still here, fans, come on if you feel like it. So,
you guys stay. You look like kings. We are here to support you.
Yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes.
Oh my God, this is great. Guys,
don't be terrible, by the way.
With all of you, this has been the last show of 2018. Since 2013 in the European LCS, all the fans have been with us. They've gone through everything with us. It hasn't always been great, but we are still here. We all know that there's changes on the horizon in 2019. So we would like to take this opportunity to just thank everyone who has tuned in. The production crew, everyone has put their heart and souls into everything you've seen this year, and we couldn't do it without you. We love you. See you at Worlds and see you for the European LCS next year. Bye-bye.
If you had it all, would you look?
We gotta get going because the EU LCS is back right after this. Let's go.
Do you recognize it's never over? Or would you walk away this time?
Get Magnus with me. Yes, I can get him.
Okay,
go mid.
Hey,
and first,
Shulker have won the fight!
And look at the mid lane. They might have just won the game and won the series. Quickshot. Everyone is dead. Vitality are wiped, and Shulker have the Nexus in their eyes.
Will you rise above the days to come? Will it be enough? Or will you walk away this time?
Another Dreaming Cat! Kills Hansama!
I think we might do it.
Holy buggers!
Cause we all face the fight as we serve.
Oh my God!
There's some of the patch notes on 8.14. Changes. Oh, look at this, Hansama! What are you doing? Goes in, for the kill! Hansama, that was beautiful!
What we can look at? Where's the minimap? This is the minimap, Gold. You have the minimap. So talk me through some of the information that he does have.
Welcome back to Berlin for the last EU LCS show of the 2018 season.
Now, I was expecting this in the previous wave, but Chachi once again the only target sent flying.
Is it enough damage?
Finds the target! Ignite! To death! Schalke null fear. Score in game 2 to even the series 1-1.
I got it. You got it.
If you had it all, but you looked the fall in the eye.
Here we go. Forge God comes out. Yes, that's a two-man knocker, but Yonen's forced to flash. The Impale catches out Nukeduck. Keep your eyes on Upset. Yes, he's got Infinity Edge, but he cannot get through Wonder.
As we search for the light on the edge of...
Things are looking good.
Oh! Flash past the petrifying gaze, and that Emperor's Divide manages to send Perkz flying, but there's not enough follow-up damage. Twin Fang on the Twin Fang! Perkz does it! This is his lane kingdom, and he shuts down Nukeduck. Vander's running for his life. G2 Esports will keep up 100% participation, taking down Schalke. G2 are Europe's third seed at Worlds.